Shannon.
Oh, Shannon?
Yeah, so it's
Oh,
just the two of us
it's
tonight.
just us, okay.
Yeah. So I'd like to call the Committee on Public Works to order at 6:30.
Is there,
I have-
are the cameras on?
Yes.
Okay, good.
You ready?
Yeah, I
Okay, yep, she's ready.
Oh, there you go.
told him.
I probably
Do
could
it
do it
again.
again, huh?
Yeah, I'll do it all again. Hello, Ms. Hall. Good evening. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining me on an early meeting evening. So I'd like to call the Committee on Public Works to order at 6:30 p.m. I have 3 motions this evening to discuss. The first is I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $35,000 from account 6000-578300 wastewater enterprise fund, reserve fund for transfer to account 6000-530101 wastewater enterprise fund professional services for soil removal and disposal of the old wastewater treatment plant.
Second.
Thank you. There was a error in the account number when we did vote this out back in, I believe it was June. Just let me check my little notes here. But there was an account number that was added in correctly, so we want to make sure that this amount gets put into the right account. Any comments?
No?
That motion passed. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Secondly, I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $214 from account 6100-515050 Water Enterprise Fund Special Licenses to account 6100 excuse me, -578020 Water Enterprise Fund bills from previous years to pay for an employee's grade 4 exam and grade 4 license reimbursement.
Motion.
Thank you. Obviously, this is contractual. Any comments?
No comments.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $38,936 from account 1420100-553010 Public Works Street Maintenance Supplies to account 1420100-524001 Public Works Maintenance of Streets for contractual services for permanent street repairs. A second?
Motion.
Thank you. So, the old water treatment plant has been abandoned and it's been offline now for 36 years. And they wanted to cap it and demolish it eventually, but they were kind of waiting on funds to get that going. Well, National Grid has a transformer in that building, and they went in because they would take care of their own because something had happened to it, and they realized that the place had been vandalized. So there is no insurance coverage on this, obviously, because it is an abandoned building. And because National Grid got involved, then the state got involved, and the state mandates that we fix the repairs within 120 days. So since this is the need to get it done within 120 days, Mr. Kennedy was hoping that we could have put this off for quite a bit longer so that when we are ready to cap it and demolish it, we wouldn't have to pay this extra money. He thinks it might come in at $25,000, but he threw in an extra $10,000, and obviously he'll transfer that back out if he doesn't have to spend it. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. I would ask for an adjournment of the Committee on Public Works at, this clock is wrong, 6:34. You all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:34. Thanks for attending.
I apologize, Kate, I tried to make it.
That's okay. Thank you very much.
meeting for September 20th, 2016 to order at 7 p.m. for the Attleboro Municipal Council. Before we stand and salute the flag, I do want to mention that I'd like us to take a moment of silence after we salute the flag for Tom Mello. He was the father of TJ Mello, who's the working foreman for the Parks Department. He's the uncle of Terry Mello, who's the Parks and Forestry foreman. And he was the cousin of John Brasso from the Water Department. He was a overall good guy, and I think lots of us know him. So after the pledge, please take a few seconds in silence. So let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. The first piece of business we have tonight is to approve the records of previous meetings. So I would like to entertain a motion to approve the records of November 3rd, 2015.
Second?
Thank you, Mrs. Parika. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, the motion is in order. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of November 4th, 2015.
Second?
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Motion is in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. I'd like to move to approve the minutes and the records of November 10th, 2015.
Second?
Thank you, Mrs. Parika. Any comments or questions? Motion is in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I'd like to move to approve the records of the meeting of November 17th, 2015.
Second?
Thank you, Mrs. Parika. Any comments or questions? Motion is in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And lastly, I'd like to move to approve the minutes and the records of December 1st, 2015.
Second?
Thank you, Mrs. Parika. Any comments or questions? Motion is in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on from that, we do not have any public hearings tonight. However, I do want to mention that on October 4th, there will be a public hearing for a new utility pole at the intersection of Pleasant Street and Perry Avenue. So if you are interested in that, please show up. Here in Council Chambers, October 4th at 7 p.m. So, moving right along, I believe the next thing we have is the mayor's communication.
September 20th, 2016. Dear municipal councilors, I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Parks and Forestry Aurelio Almeida regarding the need to replace 6 pin oak trees in the Memorial Walkway in Capron Park. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to transfer $2,700 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Park and Forestry Purchase of Trees. Upon approval, the balance in the reserve fund for transfer will be $397,300. Copies in your packets.
Refer to the Public Works Committee, please.
On June 7th, 2016, your honorable body approved the acquisition of a conservation restriction on a parcel of land located on Wilmar Street. The Attleboro Land Trust is now offering to donate to the city a conservation restriction on 2 additional contiguous parcels of land located on Wilmar Street. Therefore, I respectfully request your honorable body, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 184, Section 32, and Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8C, to approve the conservation restriction more fully described in the document to the City of Attleboro and the Massachusetts Audubon Society, Inc., 2 parcels of land situated on the southerly side of Wilmar Street in the City of Attleboro, Massachusetts, shown as Lot 6 and Lot 7, on that certain plan of land entitled Land Owned by the Stephen K. Richardson Revocable Trust and the Thomas O. Richardson Trust in Attleboro, Massachusetts, drawn by E. Otis Dyer, RPLS, scale 1 inch equals 50 feet, dated December 3rd, 2015, and recorded at the Bristol County District Registry of Deeds in Plan Book 503, page 17, and comprising 60,323 square feet and 96,381 square feet respectfully. Copies in your packets.
Referred to the Zoning and Land Use Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding surplus items that the Water Department would like to declare surplus, and hereby respectfully request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. Copies in your packets, and there's 200 water meters in the condition as used.
Referred to the Public Works Committee.
I respectfully submit a communication from Acting Water Superintendent Paul Kennedy regarding the need to transfer funds to pay a bill from fiscal year 2016. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to transfer $221 from account Water Enterprise Fund Lights and Power to account Water Enterprise Fund previous year's bill. Copies in your packets.
Public Works Committee, please.
Sincerely, Kevin J. Dumas, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Withers, and you have one further communication.
Yes, I do. I received a letter from Dick Oliver. He's the commander of the South Attleboro Post, number 213, from 437 Newport Ave, South Attleboro, Mass., requesting a one-day solicitation permit for the annual Poppy Drive, which will be held Saturday, November 5th, from 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. at various facilities in South Attleboro, with a rain date of November 19th.
Thank you. That will be referred to the License Committee.
And that is all I have, Mr. Vice President.
Okay, correction, that's post 312.
Mr. Withers,
312.
Ms. Hall says that's post 312.
Oh, okay, that's a correction then. It's not 213, it's 312?
Thank you, Ms. Hall. I appreciate that. All right, next we move on to committee.
Julie.
Move on to Committee of the Whole. I entertain a motion to go into Committee of the Whole.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We are currently in Committee of the Whole. If there's anyone who wishes to address the council on any matter of city business, now is the time. Please come forward to the podium. Seeing as none, I move to arise from Committee of the Whole.
Second?
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have arisen from Committee of the Whole. Next, we will go into committee reports, and I would like to call on Mr. Delicio.
Thank you, Vice President Denley. Reporting for budget and appropriations tonight. There is no business. I would like to call for a meeting at the next appropriate time. Also reporting for ordinances, elections, legislative matters from the docket of September 6, 2016. I move to approve the mayor's request to approve a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $8,879.42 to account 116-21000-511000 election salary to cover the reduction in force in the elections office that was planned for July 1st, 2016, that was extended to November 28th, 2016.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Parika. That motion is in order. Any comments, Mr. Delicio?
It's pretty straightforward. We talked about it last week in committee. This is to start the process rolling on the presidential election, which we have the state mandated early elections starting in October. I still have a copy of the schedule if anyone needs it.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing as how there are none, the motion is in order. It will be a roll call vote, and the vote will start with Mr. Delicio.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Conti? Yes. Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Finally, from the docket of December 22nd, 2015, I move to adopt the following ordinance. Be it ordained the municipal council of the city of Attleboro that section 9-47.2 under section 9-47 motor vehicle dealers are the revised ordinances of the city of Attleboro by deleting the section in its entirety and inserting new section 9-47.2 as follows. Would request a waiving of the reading as
That's fine. Is there a second?
Second?
The motion is in order. Any comments?
we talked about it in committee last week. We also had a public hearing where no one was present. Essentially, what it's doing now is it's removing the stipulation that if you don't have your license in by November 1st, you need to come in for a public hearing at the end of the year. And now the fee will be tripled, which brings us more on par with other ordinances in the city.
Any other comments or questions? No, the motion is in order. It will be a roll call vote, and it will be starting with Mr. Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Mr. Conti? Yes. Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That's all the business I have for ordinances, elections, legislative matters. I'm gonna call for meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Delizio. Ms. Hall?
Yes, Acting President Denley. I have no business for the zoning. I remembered that part of it this time. Zoning and Land Use Committee, and I would like to call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Conti?
Thank you, Acting President Denley. Reporting for the Committee on Capital Improvements and City Development, we have no business to bring before the council this evening. However, we look forward to a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Conti. Mrs. Prika?
Thank you, Acting President Denley, which is a mouthful. Reporting for transportation and traffic, I have one motion for this evening. From the docket of August 16th, 2016, I move to strike the following item from the docket of August 16th, 2016, to add a crosswalk on Rome Boulevard at Green Drive.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. The motion is in order. Any comments?
I discussed this in length last week during our committee meeting. The reason, the request to bring this new business forward that situation has remedied itself, and so it is no longer necessary, and the constituents in the area no longer are requesting that, so.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing as none, this motion is in order and a voice vote is required. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That concludes the business for transportation and traffic for this evening, and call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time. Luckily, I get to report for licenses tonight as well. So reporting for licenses, we have one motion this evening. From the docket of September 20th, 2016, I move to approve the 2016 renewal keeping a stand in a public place license application dated July 18th, 2016 from Carlos M. Silva for Sangrias, 59 Park Street, Attleboro, Mass. 02703 for 3 tables Monday to Sunday, 12 noon to 1 a.m.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Delizio. Are there any comments?
Again, we discussed this in committee last week. I think it's fantastic. I enjoy driving through the center and seeing sangrias and Scorpios having tables outside. In addition to that, it seems to me that they're expanding their hours because they were only open for dinner hours previously, so now they're open for lunch, so I think that's terrific. And look forward to much success for sangrias.
Any other questions or comments? No, the motion is in order. It requires a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Excellent. That concludes the business for licenses, and I request a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you, Mrs. Parika.
Thank you, Acting President Denley.
Ms. Reynolds?
Thank you, Acting President Denley. Reporting for city property and claims from the docket of September 20th, 2016. I have quite a few motions, but Acting President, I'd like to not have to read them all the way through because I already read them into the record at the committee meeting.
Yep, just summarize them.
Summarize, okay. So from the docket of September 20th, 2016, I move in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to accept the donations of wall clocks along with their batteries, a donation to the Office of the Municipal Council.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Parika. Are there any comments or questions? Or, sorry, Ms. Reynolds, are there any comments?
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Any other comments or questions? No. Seeing as how there are none, the motion is in order. This will be a roll call vote, and the vote will start with Mr. Delizio.
Mr. Delizio?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Ms. Hegney? I'm sorry. I didn't scratch her out on this page. Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
I apologize for that. 9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
From the docket of September 20th, 2016, I move to approve the mayor's request to declare these following Attleboro Public School items as surplus and also available for disposition. There are multiple copiers, and there are items from the Graphic Arts Department. There are cameras from that department as well, printers, cylinders, vacuum frame, a film driver, a duplicator, printing press, and friction-fed folder. There are also some convection oven, 4 of them, exercise equipment, bicycle curling machine, apparatus, treadmill, weight bar resting, and straight bars, and there are monkey bars through playground equipment, monkey bars, and climbing apparatus with enclosed slide.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Parika. Any comments, Ms. Reynolds?
No, I just think there is a lot of things that are at the end of their lifetime use, and they're looking to either dispose of them and looking for new.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, this requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Mr. Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
From the docket of August 18th, 2016, I move in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to approve the mayor's request to accept the donation of services for lettering and graphics on the City of Attleboro Veterans Van from Greenwood Emergency Vehicles.
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Parika. Any comments, Ms. Reynolds?
No, I think it's very nice that it's happening, and we like nice things when they happen. I think I said this the last time, we like these things.
Ms. Jackson?
I just, just wanted to duly note that my husband works for Greenwood Emergency Vehicles, and this will not affect my vote this evening. Thank you.
Duly noted. Any other comments or questions? Seeing as none, this does recall a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Mr. Delicio.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
From the docket of August 18th, 2016, I move to approve the mayor's request to declare the following police department items as surplus for trade-in or resale value and available for disposition. And there are 4 vehicles and 1 utility trailer that are in poor condition.
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Parika. Any comments, Ms. Reynolds?
No, I just think police vehicles, even though the miles don't seem like they're as high as what a personal vehicle would carry, it's the type of pounding that they take on a day-to-day level, that, you know, they have to be changed out every so often.
Any other
Not
comments?
often.
Other comments or questions? Seeing none, the motion is in order. It will be a roll call vote, and it will start with Counselor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
And Vice President Denley?
Yes.
9 yeas and 0 nays.
Motion passes.
From the docket of August 18th, 2016, I move in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro to approve the mayor's request to accept the donation of 5 drawer steel flat files from Bob Rottenstrach.
Second?
Thank you. Any comments, Ms. Reynolds?
Oh, I think we appreciate any time that somebody's willing to make donations to the city.
Any other comments or questions? No, the motion is in order. It requires a roll call vote, and that will start with Mr. Delicio.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
From the docket of August 18th, 2016, I move in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to approve the mayor's request to accept the donation of 5 desk chairs and 3 desks from Bristol County Savings Bank.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Any comments, Ms. Reynolds?
No, again, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but, you know, again, very much appreciated.
Any other comments or questions? This vote requires a roll call vote, and it will begin with
Mr. Blair?
Mr. Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Okay, that is all the business that I have tonight from the city property and claims, and I'd like to call a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Mr. Cooper.
Thank you. From reporting for Personnel and Human Services, I moved from the docket of September 20th, 2016, I moved to approve the mayor's request to confirm the appointment of Scott G. Jones, 65 Oak Hill Avenue, to fill an unexpired term on the planning board, term to expire February 2017.
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Parika. Any comments, Mr. Cooper?
No, I'll just repeat quickly what I said in committee. You know, we want to move this forward. Ken has reached out to Mr. Jones, have him come meet the council and be introduced to the public. But I hate to hold these things up, especially when we know someone who's active on a committee within the city at this time. So it just makes sense to do that so the planning board can move forward with what they need to move forward with and have quorums for their meetings.
Any other comments or questions? This vote requires a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you. That concludes the business for Personnel and Human Services. We'll call for a committee meeting next week at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reporting for Public Works this evening from the docket of September 20th, 2016. I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $35,000 from account Wastewater Enterprise Fund Reserve Fund for transfer to account Wastewater Enterprise Fund Professional Services for soil removal and disposal at the old wastewater treatment plant.
Second?
Thank you. We had originally voted this in August. We had passed the vote. However, come to find out through Deb Gould's office, we had put it into the wrong account. So we're just getting it into the right places. Any comments? Oops.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Any other comments? Seeing as none, a roll call vote is required, and it will begin with Mr. Delicio.
Mr. Delissio,
Yes.
Ms. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Mrs. Parika,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of September 20th, 2016, I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $214 from Water Enterprise Fund Special Licenses to account Water Enterprise Fund bills from previous years to pay for an employee's grade 4 exam and grade 4 license reimbursement from fiscal year 2016.
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Parika. Any comments, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, this is contractual, so, and he had completed his exam and did well, so we're just reimbursing him.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing as there are none, a roll call vote is required, and that vote will begin with Mr. Blair.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mrs. Parika,
Yes.
Conti,
Yes.
Ms. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Delissio,
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of September 20th, I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $38,936 from Public Works Street Maintenance Supplies to account Public Works Maintenance of Streets for contractual services for permanent street repairs.
Second?
Thank you, Mrs. Parika. Any comments, Ms. Jackson?
Yes. I just messed up two of my motions. So the first motion that we voted on was for the treatment plant. And I'm looking at the two numbers and I'm like, what the heck? Why is that different than what I had here in my notes? The first one that we voted on was for the treatment plant. So the old wastewater treatment plant is abandoned. It's been abandoned for about 26 years now. National Grid went in because they had a transformer or something that they had to switch out of there or take out of there, the building. We are eventually gonna demolish this building, and we were hoping to do it not too far from now, but we weren't just ready yet financially to get it done. And when National Grid went into the building, they found that there was a lot of damage and it had been vandalized. So because National Grid went in, the state was brought into the building, and the state said, they mandate that you fix that problem within 120 days. This is why he's asking for the funds for that $35,000. For this particular motion, if I may, this is for the transfer of the funding, which we had voted on back in August, and I apologize, I'm looking at them both at the same time, that we'd already voted on, but we had put it into the wrong account. We had been given the wrong account number.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Any other comments or questions? Seeing as how there are none, a roll call vote is required, and that vote will begin with Mr. Delissio.
Mr. Delissio,
Yes.
Ms. Hall,
Yes.
Conti,
Yes.
Mrs. Parika,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no further business this evening, but would like to call for a committee meeting next week at the appropriate time, and is my face turning all red? I'm embarrassed.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Blair.
I have no business this evening for public safety and emergency management, but would request the committee meeting next week at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. There is no old business tonight. There is one piece of new business, and I will call on Ms. Reynolds.
From the docket of November 4th, 2016, I move to refer the following item to the appropriate committee for further study and recommendation. That this municipal council create a city policy stating that water and wastewater departments, water and wastewater enterprise accounts will not charge the city of Attleboro school system for services provided, and/or that this municipal council make a temporary policy change to not charge the Attleboro School Department for water and wastewater usage costs in 2017, with the possibility of doing so again in 2018 if the water and wastewater enterprise account show retained earnings.
Second?
Thank you, Mrs. Parika. Any comments, Mr. Reynolds?
Well, this started coming up for discussion way back in June of this year, of 2016. And I had some discussions with the city, with our city auditor, with our city attorney, and, had these discussions. I never really felt that I got a correct answer, so I did request also how much money was in the enterprise funds, in the retained earnings. And I did, and all of you should have this in your packet. I put together the things that I'm just showing you so that you would have them. And so that there are enough retained earnings to do what I'm asking, and the amounts are there. Even at the end, there was money left over, so that is there. And then I received, and I did knock out his name from the DOR, Daniel Bertrand, he's over at the Mass Department of Revenue. And I went to see them on July 18th to get a response about whether this is something that we could do. Now, the response that you have here is the one that they gave me, and it also went directly to Jim Hand at the Sun Chronicle. So he has this exact same response. He did receive it exactly as it is written here as well. So you will see on here that, and shall I read that? Do I need to read it? I mean, it's right here. It just, it goes on to say that they responded to an inquiry from myself, and that retained earnings require appropriation by the community's legislative body, which is us, and can be used for enterprise fund purposes. The decision to charge or not charge a school or municipal department for use is a matter of local policy. Again, that is us. The Division of Local Services recommends that municipalities establish and follow clear policies regarding enterprise fund retained earnings, subsidies, and direct and indirect costs, and does not consider the use of one-time revenues for recurring expenses to be a municipal finance best practice, which I stated way back in June. It wasn't a best practice, but it was legal, and that is what they are saying here. And you can go to, the manual to find out more. I then researched a few things further, and I found some things that were in there, the 10 worst practices in municipal finance. And the 6th one was this exactly. It says, relying on one-time revenues to fund annual operating costs. The recommendation from them is don't do it. It doesn't say you can't do it. It says they recommend that you don't do it. It says unbudgeted revenues or windfalls are good, but waiting for them to occur, even using them after they occur, to finance annual operating costs is extremely risky. Well, we're not asking for that, really, or I'm not saying that. And it's also saying, he goes on to say, I'm not saying that it can't be done in 1 year, which I am asking. If we can't do it forever, then we should consider doing it for the year 2017, and again, possibly doing it for the year 2018, because it says right here that it can be done. They don't want you to rely on any one-time revenue source like a round of American Recovery and Reinvestment Act funds, tax amnesty, or a court judgment in the community's favor. Well, we're not doing that. We're always pretty much flush in the water and wastewater from revenues. It's not that we're getting money in there from some outside source. We're getting money in there from all of the fees that our residents pay. So it goes on to say that annual operating costs should be financed using a dependable revenue stream, which is true, the tax levy, that's what we're using, not an inconsistent or an anticipated one. Again, we're not asking for that. And it's not a windfall. So I'm saying that everything shows that this could be done. I think that we should open it up for discussion. that's what we're here for. There's a possibility it can be done, and I offer two ways that we might consider it. And I just think that at this moment in time, it's a good idea to consider. I will suggest that, you know, if those revenues, which is like $200,000, if those revenues were to be allotted back to the schools, there's multiple of things that they can use. I mean, it doesn't have to be everybody. I see these things all over the place. Well, another teacher, or it could be staff inside the system. Yeah, well, I guess it could be. But I'm talking about the other things too. There's lots of things that the schools are in need of. $200,000 could supply supplies, for goodness sakes, whether it be at the high school or the elementaries or the junior highs. I mean, there are a lot of things that $200,000, if they save it, could be used for once now that the school year has started. So I think it's something that we should definitely look at and have a discussion over and see if it's something that we can do. And that's my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. I do want to mention that while Ms. Reynolds is the sponsor, it was also co-sponsored by Mr.
Sure.
Mr. Cooper, Mrs. Parika, Mr. Conti, and myself.
Yes.
Are there any other comments or questions on this matter? Seeing none, we will take a voice vote. This is just a vote to refer it to committee. This is not an actual vote on the matter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes and it will be referred to the Committee on Budget and Appropriations. That is all the business we have for tonight. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 7:29.
Nice.